World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Jana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be linked to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She was magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is now.
Greetings and welcome to Access Wealth Nation on the Soul City Network and also broadcast by WHCR 90.3 FM, City College, the soul of Harlem. And I'm Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse. And of course, my goal and energy is always to bring you your checkup from the neck up and to become financially literate so you can move forward. You know, I believe that, matter of fact, I know that if you know better, you will do better. And of course, in the urban community, we have to really do better because the economic surge is taking place and things are changing day by day. Matter of fact, minute by minute. So, you know, we always talk about the fact that the best way to start your financial journey is to have your How Money Works book, Stop Being a Sucker, put by two of my partners in the business, Tom Matthews and Steve Siebold. This book is a basic foundation of how money works, some of the things you need to know, the simple things. And so I would say to you, if you really want the book, you of course could go to Amazon and pay $20. But then here goes your next financial education is we will give it to you for free $99. Okay, all you have to do is reach out to Anaj Enterprises Inc. at gmail.com and put your name and address in it. If you want me to call you, let me know, but I don't do that unless you want to talk. But I do ask you to please, if you get the book, read it and see what you get out of it. I take a lot of time to make sure that I point out certain aspects of the book that we need to pay attention to, some basics, because we need to know how money works. And of course, the reason why it's called Stop Being a Sucker, as I know you all have heard before, is that when you go into the bank, you look to the left, you look to the right, and you see suckers, some type. It'd be, it can be a candy or a little sucker, but it's a sucker. And worst of all, before we started this campaign 3 years ago, they used to be dum-dums, but now they're changed up, and now certain companies have their logo on it. But still, they let you know what they think about you. And if you don't learn better and do better, you will never be able to move to the levels of prosperity. Also, again, I always say to you is that you have a plan. Have to have a plan. Know your number. And if you don't, then you're planning not to win and you may plan to fail. So we don't want anybody to fail. So if you have a plan and you want a plan, you can contact our office for a free financial analysis, no obligations. You can hold me to that. Many of you have already gone through it and realized that I don't ask for anything, just to give you a plan so that you don't plan to fail. So call our office at 646 375 2121 and say, I'd like to have a plan. And you don't have to come in personally. What we can do is always do a Zoom. I have my staff here who is very willing to be able to assist you and help you through your plan. Or maybe you might just get me. I'm still working on tax returns, so sometimes I'm not available, but I will be soon, because my thing is to bring financial literacy to the urban community, change our thoughts to change our lives. And that being said, during the time, if you have any questions for our guest or for myself, please feel free to put any questions in the chat. We definitely relish and embrace questions, because that's what this is. It's a learning experience. I am a certified financial educator, along with all the rest of my wonderful accolades, but I cherish the financial educator portion, because I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm trying to educate you. So if you know better, you'll do better. That's my mantra. And that being said, many of you have enjoyed some of our shows that we've had on different types of entities that are out here. And one of the ones that seems to be rolling in our community is the cryptocurrency, virtual currency market. These are the things that we have people who ask questions about. One thing in our community is that we are constantly looking for what's going to get us rich quick. And I still believe in the world of the hare and the rabbit, the tortoise and the hare, and the tortoise moved slow and steady, and the hare ran fast and lost. So just be careful. Make sure that you do something with what I call your safe money, and then you can move forward. Not making a recommendation, because I don't do this on my show, but I bring the information to you so that you have the opportunity to make some educated decisions. And that being said, y'all ready to hear about what's going on with this cryptocurrency market? And again, I've heard about this gentleman and his wisdom and what he's doing to build assets. And so with no further ado, I'd like to bring on Mr. Richard Mahve. Hi,
How are
Richard.
you? How are you? How's everything?
Good. Welcome to Access Wealth Nation, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for your time.
Sure, glad to. So, Richard, I'm going to start off real shortly. Let's you tell the audience a little bit about yourself. You had an extensive experience in the market and on Wall Street. And so I'd just like you to share a little bit about what you have been doing as far as when you first started your career a long time ago and now to where you have allowed it to grow.
Sure. My father was a banker. So he was one in 1977. He was a company. He was associate treasurer for Equitable Life Insurance. So being a kid, I grew up in the 70s, 72. I was born in 1972. I'm 50 in a few weeks here. I got to see my dad as a role model. He actually would walk from 137th Street to Wall Street twice a week, just to be able to afford ties that matched the members of the boardroom. Because in the 70s, there weren't many African Americans in boardrooms. So he wound up, after going to Vietnam, making his way to becoming an associate treasurer of a major international insurance company. And so I really followed my dad's footsteps, um, from a standpoint of what I was going to do in life. He created financial trading systems on Apple computers in 1981, which was really unheard of, and bought a lot of Apple stock in the 80s, which paid off in the 2005, 2006, 2007. So I joined computer clubs and learned about coding and things early on, junior high school and high school, and then I made my way to Wall Street in '95 was my first year working in Wall Street, and my position was primarily working on the internet exchange for a Wall Street firm.
Okay, alrighty. That's a realm of a lot of different things. So you've got the gamut, and basically, it's what I always think about is that we have to share with our children and build legacies. And so that's what your dad did. He showed you how to move forward in this industry. Unfortunately, a lot of people of color are still not in the the Wall Street world or even embrace it. And it's only because they don't know, that they could be there. So right now you are the founder of the M12 Empire. I love that. M12 Empire. And so, as being the founder and CEO of it, tell us a little bit, because first I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about the cryptocurrency market. What is this really about? We done heard everything from
Sure.
Bitcoin to Lord knows ripples and bushes and whatever else is out here. So can you tell the audience a little bit and educate them on what this market is really about?
Yeah, and that's partly why I touched upon my experience on building financial trading systems, being in traditional banking. Cryptocurrency is very similar, right? Very similar to a stock or an investment, and you really have to look at it that way. If you don't have the assets or understanding of an asset, I mean, I see companies that approach us about doing deals, and I say, okay, what do we actually own here when we buy? There's 1 million shares or coins. What do we own and what is it worth? So if the property is worth $10 million and there's 1 million coins, you should have $10 per coin, and there should be something that backs it up. And a lot of cases that's not the case. So you have to, anything you do, and I like to touch upon the cryptocurrency. I'll tell you about my success in it. My first day, everyone has encouraged me to look at crypto, and I've gone and met with companies, and they're spending millions of dollars on building. My first day, I launched a cryptocurrency M12 coin in Asia. It went from $5 to $12 or $14 the first day. So I grew about $60 million. Another 7 coins. I have 100 in 186 countries. I have coin holders. About 1.62 million people own currency that I am a significant shareholder or owner in. And all of my portfolio, I own at least 30% of the coins. I have one coin, I have over $490 million in coin value. And most of our coins sit between $50 and $200 million on a daily basis with a market cap. So just to give you a general idea, instead of listening to everyone and going to Bitcoin and doing this, I actually created my own currency out of Asia and started marketing it. We M12 Empire owns over 500 websites around the world, represent every state and every country. So we're marketing our own content across that network.
Okay, so now you've made some points there. So you created your own coin.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask because I'm going to be a real neophyte. I know the stock market like my back of my hand, but this cryptocurrency world is like, I've had some people on our show, that are proficient in it. And so therefore I felt it necessary for everyone to hear from a different point of view. And you definitely have a different point of view because, am I using the word correct? You harvest the coins?
Yeah, I launched a coin out of Asia. I mean, there's so many different keywords and terminologies. I looked at it very straightforward. You know, here's the value of our company. Let's back the value up. Instead of going to NASDAQ, we went to an exchange called Knightsbridge out in Thailand, and we went to Binance and registered the coin. My goal was to do 12 coins in the first year. We launched our first one in October. We own 7 today. But
Okay.
there's so many keywords, terminologies. It's very straightforward. Just like I said, is if you have a portion of something,
Mm-hmm.
right? If there's 1 million pieces, and that is the value of the company or the car or whatever it is that the million pieces represent, should be divisible by that, and that's what that's you have to value it. And there's different ways of valuing it. The one is basically the market cap based on what people are perceived value of what they're buying and selling at. But there should be an asset or something behind it, whether it's a car or a piece of art or a building.
This is definitely different because the last time I listened to a gentleman who spoke on my show, and he was saying that since we have Federal Reserve notes that have nothing backing it, but the thought, that the coin base aspect has the same kind of idea. It's not, there's nothing there backing, but now you're coming from a different point because you said it should have something to back it. So that being said, for someone to be able to embrace or participate, how do they change or transfer or exchange the funds into Federal Reserve, or do they ever come out of the coin base? And is that one of the ways of which they can liquidate or buy things or have stuff? Is it that they stay within the Coinbase world, or do they have an opportunity to convert into Federal Reserve notes?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So what we're doing, we're a technology company. If you look M12 Telecom, like I said, we have account holders in 186 countries. So what we're doing today is, if you buy a gem stone from us, $1,000, we give you $1,000 worth of currency.
Mm.
If you buy, anything from us, so it's backed up by the value of the asset that you bought from us, and that was our first step. So we have 1.62 million people around the world that own in currencies in our portfolio. That's actually more than some countries, right? If you look out of the 224 countries in the world, we have 1.62 million people that own currencies of ours, and there's some countries that have less. So what we are doing right now, we're registering in 100 countries on 20 currencies. So when you buy a piece of jewelry from our store, or if you buy an iPhone and we give you the equivalent value in the digital currency, you're able to go to the exchange and actually trade it. So we do have exchanges that we're on today where you can exchange it for cash. But M12 is launching M1 exchange. If you look on the website, we actually will allow you to cash your digital currency into to either trade it or actually change it into a currency which is within 100 countries. So it's the euro, the dollar, and others.
Oh, so you deal with the euro as well as the fiats.
Yeah, we have a list. We're doing 20 currencies in 100 countries.
Got it. Okay. So now I noticed also in some of the information you sent me, and thank you again for this. It's a lot of information. But there's going to be a black coin.
Yeah, so Blackcoin is backed up by a TV production company that I produce for, which currently is on, Impact Network, which is 83 million homes. It's a faith-based network where we also do pride fights and we do commercial content. So we have shows right now with Tara Wallace from Love and Hip Hop, and also Fredro Starr is on a show called Behind the Grind with us. So we have two shows on that network, and so the coin is backed up by the contracts that we have with in our TV production company. So it's called Black Coin, and its focus is reaching African around the world economically, not just disadvantaged, but what I could tell you, and this is what I want to touch upon. So it's a mindset, it's a mentality. I learned from a third. He walked into his parents' room. He asked them for $1,200, not $20 million, and he took that $1,200 on a server and he built a $60 million business by the time he was 16. He's a millionaire. You can read about it in Forbes. A kid, 13 years old, made $1 million by the time he was 14 years old, because he basically took his skill sets and he applied it into the internet, and he wound up with 16,000 clients in the first year. And so what I'm saying to you is, wealth isn't always by, and if you look at people like Basquiat, they created something with glitter and ink and canvas that cost them less than $200. But today a Basquiat could go for $7 and $10, $12 million. So what I had, and this is what I learned before I got into the cryptocurrency. And I'm saying this with full disclosure. My credit score was 346. The reason I know that is because I went to trade my car in. Okay. And the guy said, I never seen a credit score this low in my life. Right.
Yeah.
So being in a situation where I was making 160, 200, $300,000 a year, but I couldn't go into a bank and just do a transaction where I said, hey, I have this, and can you give me that? So that goes back to what you're saying about the cryptocurrency. So since the 346 credit score, I can go on my phone now, look at Credit Karma. I'm 725 plus across the board on all of my scores, right? And so in 3 years, what I learned, what changed the difference of my mentality was, and I have a book bag right here with me, if I cannot go into the bank and get money for it, why do I put my money into it? Right? I need to have something. I have all the titles in my book bag. So if I needed $50,000, I have X amount of dollars of titles that I could walk into the bank and say, I need $200,000, and they would give it to me. So it's the same premise with the cryptocurrency. If you want to go buy a cryptocurrency that you can't get any value out of it, whether it's a piece of jewelry, a commodity, a car, it should be backed up by something, right? So when I changed my mentality from buying $1,000 watch that the next day I couldn't even sell for $200,
yes,
I went into buying assets that became free and clear, that if I went into the bank and I needed money, I knew the ratio which they would give it to me. And that's what changed my life, right? That's what changed my credit scores to 725s plus from 346s. And once you take that premise with, is it bankable, right? If you buy a Louis Vuitton bag for $6,000, can you sell it for $6,000 tomorrow? If you buy a Rolex for $12,000, can you sell it for $12,000 tomorrow? So it's the same thing with the cryptocurrency. It's the same thing. So real estate is the most tangible asset.
yes,
You know what the bank is going to give you. So if you spend $200,000 on something, you know they're going to give you $140,000 of its value in cash back. And And that's one of the most critical things that happened even when I transitioned into cryptocurrency, was to determine how to make the currencies valuable where if someone bought it, they were able to get their value back.
Okay.
And that was a critical juncture, and that's sort of the path of what we're doing and at M12. And more importantly, the next step was to just be good for it. Meaning, now that I have the assets, everything I have, I own. If it's a car, I have the title. If it's a house, I have the title. And some
Mm-hmm.
people say, well, you can pay it off over time. No, I want to be good. If I need $1 million, I want to be good for it because I'm good for it. I don't want to leverage my car or my house.
Got it. Okay, so there's a question. What is the process for creating a coin and placing it and validating it in the cryptocurrency marketplace?
So it depends on what country you're in first. So United States, it's it's a bit of a process. It's the same thing as going onto an exchange. So you have to, just like you register a domain, right?
Mm-hmm.
You register the coin, right? You come up with a name, you register it. It costs you upwards of $2,500 to register it on the blockchain. So any activity from the time that you start is going to be transact monitored, and anyone could research it. How many trades, how many transactions.
Where
It's
do they
called.
register it? I'm sorry to interrupt, but where do they register? How is it? I heard you say register before. So is it registered similar to, well, with the securities, we have registration with SEC, and regulated, but is that not that's not really the same as how they do Bitcoins, is it? Or not
Sure.
Bitcoin currency?
So yeah. So it's the registration is called a contract, and that contract is done by different places like Binance. So that you pick the blockchain that you want to be on. The blockchain essentially monitors every transaction, every sale that happens within. So it's like having a stock, the registered stock with the New York Stock Exchange. In this case, you find the blockchain of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several ones, and people like determine if they're secure or they're reporting. But the key thing of the blockchain, it monitors every activity, every step of what you've done.
Now, is the market driven like the stock market where people put their money in, or they're buying the coin, putting stuff behind the coin? Is that how it works, where it drives the price up?
So it's the more so like the wind blows, right? So in this case, yeah, I mean with cryptocurrencies, a lot of things are not backed by any assets. You have to look and see there, and there's several that do. I mean, if you look at what's going on in the stock market, there was 500 unicorns in the last 18 months, and 24 months ago there was maybe 10, 12. So the
Wait a minute, hold up.
valuation.
What's a unicorn?
Oh, okay.
Look, you're talking about
So
neophyte
unicorn
folks.
is no, a unicorn is a definition of a company that within 3 years and less than a $10 million investment reached a $1 billion valuation.
Wow. Okay.
That's the financial definition of a unicorn.
Okay.
So there were so many unicorns that the valuations could not be backed up.
Mm.
Very similar to the digital currencies where, okay, this person is involved in that board and this deal and that, but how much money do they have in the bank? How many assets do they have, right? Can you really just go to the bank and bank this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what's critical about what I'm saying here. I mean, the last 3 years I changed my life. Like I had a 346 credit score 3 years ago. I had nice car, I had, cash flow, like above average cash flow, you know, and but I couldn't go in a bank and get a loan because, Most people can't go in a bank and get a loan, right? So, but I changed the dynamic of backing it up with the assets. And if you look at if you were to look at my credit score today, uh, just in credit cards, $100,000, I spend less than $1,000 on credit cards a month.
Mm. Okay. So, as you said before, it depends on where you're at with this crypto or virtual currency, I would call it. So, is it that it works better abroad, when you're dealing with Europe or Africa? I remember my first introduction to the cryptocurrency was with 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes was covering how it worked, and I saw where it worked in Africa, more so in Kenya, and I understood why, because the transfer of money is so difficult, and that more or less how it would work is if you wanted to get money to your family in the north, you had to find somebody getting on a bus and trust them to get it to your person, which a lot of times that didn't work. So with the Bitcoin, they were able to go on their phones and transfer money. That I got.
That's
Then
called the unbanked.
that's
It's
what
called unbanked, meaning people that aren't banking. Unbanked.
unbanked. Okay. Okay. So that's
Yeah,
someone.
unbanked. Yeah.
So that's someone who does not have a banking system. Is that it?
Right.
Okay. All righty. So we're learning.
And that's a majority of our on one of our digital currencies, Solar Gold and Lumi Digital. That's a majority of our account holders are unbanked.
Unbanked. Okay. So that being said, okay, here comes the accounting side to me, because as I've noticed with the United States, especially during taxes, the past 3 years, the US government has basically said, uh, do you invest or have you received any? This year was, have you received any? And I understand that's why. I know a reason why, because they can't track you unless you can put yourself in violation. So, have you received any virtual currency? Did you sell any? There goes capital gain. And the other part is that if you received it, then therefore are you reporting all your income? So I know that's what's happening in the United States. If you say no, then basically you have made a statement of perjury. That's how they got you set up right now. Is that going to be enforced? Who knows? There was a
Oh,
time.
you have to pay your taxes on it. If you sell it and you get cash, you have to pay your taxes on it. There's
Okay.
100%.
So therefore, you two are of the mindset, because the last person I spoke to, that's what they said is that if you make a profit, but if you just buy it and you don't do anything with it, it's just like with stock. You didn't do anything, you didn't make any money, you didn't lose any money, you didn't, action. I'm assuming that's the same kind of.
When you sell, yeah. When you sell anywhere in the world, you pay the taxes. Period.
Right. That's
There's no way around that. Yeah.
Right. You have to, because right now I'm seeing that some of these companies are being mandated to provide the social security numbers. I'm telling my clients, make sure that you document when you have made the purchase, so that you can figure out when you sell it, whether it's a long-term or short-term capital gain, and then so you can pay taxes on it. Okay. So now my question.
Let me just interject there. I mean, because the reason why I did it is because I'm an internet marketing guy. I've experience. I built a company to 90 million. And, built from a notebook up, just off internet strategy. I own over 500 websites around the world. And so I go to a dinner party. I'm sitting on a boat or at the country club, and people go, how much Bitcoin do you have? Do you have this? What do you think about that? I was like, oh my God, come on, stop talking. So I just did my own. I literally, instead of spending all this money investing in Bitcoin, I launched my own and went to $60 million the first day. The second coin went to $74 the first day. And it Solar Gold. And I was like, whoa, I'm at $240 million. So the point was, the reason I got into the game was because of hearing all this buzz and this. I was just annoyed by it. But yeah, because it's like you're hearing people telling you this. Let me say this: with digital currency, cryptocurrency, with the internet, with art, there's so many things that we could just do if we just use ingenuity and go a little bit further than most people will, right? And then now you build some net worth for yourself.
Okay.
Right? But what I had to do is make it tangible. So that's what I'm doing every day now, is I'm making it more tangible, more believable, more secure. Now that I have the valuation and the market share and the market presence, every day I'm working on building the foundation of how to make it worth something.
Okay. So you're looking at that point to put it in to adding some tangible values to it. So therefore at that point, because the key is people need to know, if I get in now in the stock market, I know if I get in, I know how to get out. So how does one get in? And then how does one get out?
Well, there's exchanges and wallets warring over,
Are the
I sent you
exchanges
some links
here,
earlier. If you go,
or are
you
they
can see
in the internet?
they're in the internet. They're not, with digital currency, most of them aren't like the New York Stock Exchange where you can walk in the building. They're they're companies with servers. Then there is compliance and regulation around it. And every different country has different rules.
Okay, so the
so it is
different areas, different parts of the world.
Oh, that every country has different rules. Yes.
Okay.
That's why I opened mine in Asia, but it's on blockchain. So, yeah.
So when you say blockchain, can you give us a definition of blockchain?
The blockchain just when you set your initial contract for the cryptocurrency, it monitors every trade and transaction, who and how much. Blockchain is not just used for digital currency, but it's used for, it's basically accountability of actions that result. So it's like it's the paper trail.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what is your take on the NFTs? Because that's another thing everybody's ready to jump on, which I still, I mean, somebody draws a swirl, and the next thing you know, they're, made $1 million on this swirl. It's hard for me as a baby boomer to comprehend, and one who has been in the market most of her life, So how do you? What's your?
If you go to your bank and you say, "Hey, here's my," if you go to a bank, you say, "Here's my NFT," are they going to give you money? If you go to the bank, you say, "Here's my Picasso. I want to leverage my Picasso for 50% of the value." They're going to say, "Who insured it?" They're going to say, "Who authenticated it? Did you buy it from Christie's?" Like, there's certain things that you need to make it bona fide.
Yes.
Right. So NFT, what makes it bona fide? Can you go and insure your NFT? Right. So what we're doing in the NFT space is, if you buy a Bugatti from us, we'll give you $3.8 million in with the NFT. We'll give you the cryptocurrency. We'll give you the NFT. If you buy the Rolls Royce from us, we'll actually give you the NFT, and now you could back it up with the asset. Right. Now, if you want to sell that Rolls Royce, you have to sell the cryptocurrency and NFT too. You don't get to keep it.
So, in essence, getting into, well, let's ask this question. The simple thing is, how much should someone have to start to get into the world of cryptocurrency?
So you're saying in a ratio of to your income?
Yeah.
Right. So you have China, right, has launched a digital currency in Australia. So I would stick with the safer ones that are on Forex and get familiar with it, and also
Every time you
your
get
comfortability
juicy, I
with the
keep
risk.
losing you. Say that again.
Oh, sorry. You have to get your level of comfortability with the risk. So I would stick with digital currencies like from China, like from the Chinese government. They're issuing them in different countries like Australia. Like,
Hmm.
don't put it into high risk things. Like I gave you the example. I bought a watch for $1,000 and I couldn't get $300 for it the next day.
Right.
You want to, so if right now, if you buy $1,000 in cryptocurrency, if you go to my site, I'm giving you $1,000 in gems.
Mm.
I'm giving you equivalent value in gemstones, necklace, or you want loose gems. So it has to be backed up by something. So, um, but I would say, 20% of your expendable cash should go into some type of investment that is an alternative investment that could, based on your risk tolerance, make you additional money,
Hmm.
right? So about 20% to be specific with the question answer. But you have to determine what your risk tolerance is. And I would say if you're a novice, go into things that are safer but give you the same experience.
Mm. And the person goes on to your site to help? Because I know you have a calculator. I was trying to play with it. Didn't have enough time to play with it, but you have a calculator of that, and how the account is doing. So in this case, as what you're talking about, is there like a calculator for every type? I know it's for, your M12 site group. Is
No, it's
there?
not just for M12. Those are exchanges that we're on, different exchanges around the world that are monitoring all the trades and transactions.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
It's just
yeah,
like
I
the New
just
York
got to
Stock
peek
Exchange.
at you.
Yeah, it's just like the New York Stock Exchange.
Okay, so but it doesn't have an opening time and a closing time, right?
No, they're just fluid because there's too many people around the world in and out. Yeah, so
Okay, all right.
it's
So
sort of like
this,
they're always, you got to stay up 24 hours almost to keep up.
hmm. Okay, there's a question again. It says New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced that his first paycheck would automatically be converted into cryptocurrency, and his salary would be converted into, okay, Ethereum, is that and Bitcoins. Uh, oh,
Don't take your salary in Bitcoin, please. When he said that, I was at 61,000. Now it's, I don't know, under 40. So clearly under 40. So he lost half his salary at this point,
oh my goodness.
or at least that check. I mean, here's the thing.
Hmm.
What he's trying to do is market that New York will be like Miami's, attractive to people that want to get into the space. But I think that, if you really look at it, the the bigger players are being criticized. The smaller players are dwindling. Um, even in the stock market right now, the companies that had a lot of fluff are being flattened. It's into reality. And I look at it like this: back in 1980, when you went into your closet, you had one pair of Jordans. When you went into your driveway or you look down the block, there may be one Porsche in the whole neighborhood, one Mercedes. Now people have two Mercedes in your driveway. No matter where you live, you could live in the worst neighborhood in the world. There's a Mercedes. You could live in the best neighborhood in the world. There's five Porsches. So the thing is that what's going on now is the value of the dollar, the purchasing power is starting to adjust.
Okay.
Right?
And
It's going back to what's reasonable. Like, you don't keep you don't need 20 pairs of Manolos and 44 pairs of Jordans in your closet to live.
Right. That's true. I'm still amazed at folks who so-called make it and they've got, 16 cars and 40 motorcycles. And I'm like, I'm not getting this. This is not, number one, it's not liquid. Number two is it's depreciating. So
Yeah,
how is it?
exactly. I
So
mean, I just want to say something about that. Like,
yes,
because
please.
you always see the picture of the African American guy wearing chains, and you see the Caucasian guy with an iPhone, and they go, "Who's the smarter investor?" Well, I think the kid with the chains, because gold went up, right? So, you know,
Really?
yeah.
Really?
So, I see some guys that had some big chains in the '80s. I guarantee if they held on to them, they have a lot of money now.
Oh, they
So,
definitely.
So the stigma, really is it's warped, right? The fundamentals are the most important thing. Is what when you wake up in the morning, what do you really and you can go outside that comfort zone, 10 or 15%, but that's what's going on in the world today. You're seeing a lot of abuse of you know of spending, and that's why it's starting to crumble a little bit, and that's just happening with the coins. We're going to stay long. Like I said, we'll be in 100 countries, 20 currencies worldwide. We have more coin holders than some countries, right? So there's 224 countries or so. We're in the top 150, 160.
Mm-hmm.
So we really have to just stay in the game because we're there. So we're going to ride the wave and stay as compliant as possible and really work to create financial freedom. So one of the first things I just want to bring this up, so
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get rich off of buying a small amount of cryptocurrency. Like the chance of it going to 60,000 or is very slim, right? So and and I'm very cautious of this, when people are buying our currencies, I look at it like, what is their intention? Because what happens is, in order for them to get the money out, they have to sell it, right? So either you're building net
Yes.
worth, you believe in the value, or you're going to sell it. So we don't want 1 million people that are going to sell tomorrow. So really
That drives it down. Is that what happens?
Yeah.
It drives the price down? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm at almost $1 billion in cryptocurrency, right? So if I lost 90% of it, I wouldn't really, I got in the game, I built it. But I look at everyone that's involved and I say, look, so the next 4 or 5 million people that we onboard, because we slow the onboarding process a little bit, I'm really for looking people that want to be smart about helping me build the value of what we have,
Mm-hmm.
versus just getting in there to get rich, right? You're not going to get 10,000 coins and become rich. The mentality is we want people that want to be vested and help us build the value.
So is it that when of course, dealing with assets is what you're looking at, because you're going to be able to use that to parlay it off to bring forth more assets and to build net worth. Am I going the right way? Because this is my world. That's all I know.
Yeah. So let me be as straightforward as possible with this answer. I'm going to just tell you. I went down to some of the more prominent firms on Wall Street and I said, look, this is what I want to do. I have a business that's over $200 million in sales. Then I want to, I want to raise capital for it and help grow it to the next level.
Yes.
They said, do you have an auditor? I should introduce you to my accountant. I said, everything's audited. Like, when I would sit across the table, they were looking at me and they're not listening. I said, I have the auditor. Like it's almost like, it's almost like they just didn't understand. It was like I was talking Chinese. Like,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I could sit here and talk Chinese to Japanese all day and no one's understanding each other, or I could just do this myself. So instead of trying to go to the NASDAQ,
Mm-hmm.
I built it up myself, and I said, I have over 1 million people. Like most companies that try to go to the stock exchange don't have more than 10,000 people.
Correct.
So I was like, are you going to start listening to me now? So now I have an agreement with those same firms to basically, because they're listening, because they see that where I started and now I have this. So imagine if they started listening to me, right? So that was my shortcut to say, hey guys, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and let you hold me back. I'm going to do it. I built over 1.5 million people around the world that are listening to us every day, have accounts with us. And so now we just have to realize the value by doing deals that are bankable. When I walk into the bank is going to say, yes, what Mr. Mahve has is worth it. Because at some point in time, these banks are going to accept currencies.
Okay, and they're going to accept the Coinbase type of situations, or are they doing that now? Because I'm hearing certain companies that are doing it now. One went sort of bankrupt. That was J.C. Penney, but I mean, also, Amazon. Those people are, they're accepting the coins on some level. I'm still not clear exactly how this all works, but if somebody take me through this, because I know we got a little time. I want to go take me through. I'm John Q. Public. I have all of my safe money because I'm going to put my plug in there. I've got all my safe money taken care of. I've got my retirement, my emergency fund. I've got my insurances. I've got my wealth management taken care of. I've got my will. I've got everything in place. And I also have another $10,000 that's sitting in the infamous bank that's giving me less than 1% in growth. Okay. And I want something else because I've got my number. Let's say, for example, I tell my clients, you have to have your number. What's your number for your retirement?
That's very important. Can I just stop there for a minute?
Yes.
So let me just explain to you. I flow private 70 times in the last 2 years. I pretty much could tell you that within $5 million, you could have everything you want in life.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 homes, 5 cars, private jet, aviation. And most people talk the words billions, 100 millions. If I gave you $100 million, most people wouldn't know what to do with it.
What to do with it? No.
If you gave someone 10 million, they wouldn't know what to do with it.
I agree.
So most of our goals, because you got to understand, we can only eat one meal, we can only drive one car, we can only be in one seat of a plane at a time. So 5 million is really the real number for most people in the world. And if you really couldn't even define what you want to do with that. If you're going to say, I'm going to invest it. The second thing I want to touch upon is you said, well, you have this, you have your annuity, you have your brokerage account, you have this. What I'm going to do with my people in the next 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to have to go to a bank down the block. You're going to put the safe in your house and you're going to report, and you're still going to get the interest. A lot of people don't know there's a thing called reposition. You could actually make money off your portfolio that's sitting at Merrill Lynch and get 10-15% with no recourse. If the transaction that you covered in their margin, they're still going to pay you. The bank is responsible. So if that's the case, why would I go put my money down the street at Merrill Lynch? Why don't I just keep it as safe in my house and report from there?
Okay. You're going to leverage it out.
My point is you're going to leverage it, but why would you take your cash and give it to somebody else?
Right.
Keep the cash in your house and report from there and still get the same value without going to the building. So the next step I'm going to do is a thing called My Bank, which is giving all the people the ability to bank from their own home and still report and get the interest from the trading and the transactions.
Okay. All righty.
That sounds very progressive, but I'm trying to tell you, if right now you ran to your bank, and I had a client that did this year.
Mm-hmm.
He had $2 million in the bank. He said, I need $500,000. Okay. So he tried to send 189 to himself and 270, and it was tied up for 8 weeks. Why? Because the bank's deposits, the ratio, the amount of money that they had, he disrupted that 5%. So they didn't want to give him the money because they couldn't So when he sent the wire, it was held, and the bank check was held. He had $465,000 tied up. So do you ever want to be in that position? So what I'm trying to explain is the next steps are to allow people to bank right out of their own home with safes and things. Why would you take it down the street? Why would you take your money down the street and for somebody else to tell you what you can and can't do with it?
Okay, so what about the
That's a very progressive idea. So I know. All right. Right.
That's a big one. That's a big one. But it's the answer.
I'm going to buy $100,000 in gemstones, but I'm going to take it and put it in the vault.
I got it.
Yeah, like, well, where is it?
As long as you got something to protect it.
You have to. And you still insure it, you still protect it, you still monitor it.
Yeah.
You still, like, because I could tell you it's not sitting in that bank.
Yes.
Okay, but it would be sitting in your vault.
Got it. I can see that. I really can. Because, I mean, the move that what Zuckerberg did, I thought everybody would peep it because he had himself valued in the billions. And he got a mortgage for less than 1%. And so some people would say, well, why does he need a mortgage when he could just, pay for it? No, you leverage your money. You don't give up those Federal Reserve notes.
So here's the thing. I understand that. I'm going to touch upon that. I don't want to. I learned this from Don King, who I also worked for years.
Okay.
If I have a car and I have a house, right? Like I said, I'll open my credit right now. I'm 725, and I told you I was 346. That's why I keep bringing that up. Okay. So I'm 775 FICO, whatever. My point to you is you want to be good for it without leveraging your house. You want to be good for it without leveraging your car. If I buy a car and I have the title and I need $100,000,
yes,
somebody just give it to me because I'm good for it. 5%, whatever you want to charge me, you're not going to leverage my car and house. What are you talking about? That's how rich people play.
So how does one get into the game? Number one, it sounds like you have to talk with more zeros. Oh, wait a minute. There's a question. There have been so many reported scams in and around cryptocurrency investing. How does one protect themselves from being had?
Okay. The most, like I said, if you buy a Rolex, how do you know it's real? If you buy a Picasso, how do you know it's real?
Same thing. You gotta go get it appraised.
Like I buy Picasso, so what I do is I could turn the Picasso behind, and I look at the canvas, and I can tell you from the watermark on the canvas if it's real or not. So you have to learn is when you're in these businesses, you have to learn how to authenticate things yourself, and not just go on gut reaction or
an outside source.
Anytime someone pushes me hard, I'm like, whoa, well, let's just wait. I'll just sit back, right? You got to look at. So that's what I'm saying here. What you want to do is look at what the governments are doing because governments need to get into digital currencies to keep up with the trends.
Okay.
So the safest bet is to do things with governments and like governments that are doing digital currencies. And then that'll keep you away from the scams.
So do you teach the individuals that work with you or who are holding your entities?
By example.
Okay. All right.
The best way to teach someone is not sit there and talk to them because what happens is you don't understand someone's level of experience, and experience is the best teacher. Right? So you got to lose. You have to, if you know my story, let me tell you 3 minutes of my story. The first $1 million I ever made, I was sleeping on the cement the day I got it. I had 5 cents in my pocket. The guy who financed Hotmail, he gave me the first investment. And then he brought the second investment to me. And basically I took my notebook, which I have, I started businesses on notebooks because I had to sell my computer. And I had to sell my phone just to keep alive. And I wrote everything out. And that's what I used to get I use my brain to get to the next step.
Mhm.
So what I'm expressing here is you have to be able to understand the value of every decision that you're making. So you don't know what the experience of the people you're talking to. So the best way I show is by example.
Okay. All right. And so how does one get in touch with you or do they go to the website to get started? What's the step if they wanted to get more information? Because we done dangled the carrot. So now people are going to want to, and I can't do it. So, how do they get to you or to the people that work with you?
My point is you're an amazing outlet to the community, and I want to continue to build into the community. And like I said, we mentor middle schoolers. We start at middle school. I have 700 kids that I've mentored. And I'll just give you one example. When I walk into their classroom, I bring a Basquiat and I ask them, to do some research on it, and they tell me it's worth $7 to $10 million, and there's a security guard there holding.
Mm, did I lose him?
I said, "Well, teacher, how much is this?" And she says, "Oh, I could get it for $38." And I say, "Glitter, marker, newspaper. So how much would it cost us to do this? About $100, $200. Okay, great." So I ask the kids again, "Can you do this?" They say yes. The point of what I'm trying to say is we have a lot of the answers to our problems, and we create our own problems. We don't need 40 pairs of Jordans. We don't know 3 Mercedes. We don't need all this jewelry and stuff that add up to nothing. What you really need is the basics of life and your family, your support system. And we have to value that more. Once we learn to value that more, we actually become wealthier because you can rely on your relationships and your connections to get further in life. Right. So I just want to say that because so me being able to help any of your viewers or listeners, like I'll be able to communicate that through you. I'll provide things to you that you can update or get to your community. I also, how we met. I actually have the right to distribute content that you deliver over networks. So I've actually watched your shows, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I watched many of your shows. So that's how we're going to be able to keep in touch is by me continue to give you information and you providing information, or when I see something that you're talking about, adding to it. But you can go to our website, M12 Telecom.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you look at there, we're in the telecommunications business, so we're communicating to people through this. So if you're unbanked, you'll be able to bank through this with us. You'll be able to transact.
Got it. Richard, this has been wonderful. It's never enough time for me to get all that I want to. You have been a wealth of knowledge. I hope you'll come back. I know you just said that we could link, so we can link.
We're definitely going to link.
And definitely, I always say my brother, Matt McCoy, brings infamous information and people to me. And it's all God sent, so I'm so thankful.
No, he's a legend in the sponsorship and ad game. Very, very, very glad we connected. And what the most important thing is, this is what I would say to people: we cheer people on with sports and athletics and all these different things, and then we fail them when they leave that ledge, when they want some type of support or understanding, right? And I think that for instance, if I have the good credit and you have the building and that other person has the idea, you could put 3 or 4 people together and build the empire. But everyone tries to do it themselves or differently or whatever. But if we broke the room down, have the answer. And it's definitely not to go buy more Mercedes than Jordan.
No, it's not. It's to build our own. My dream and my goal is for us to be self-sufficient, as the wonderful people who honored me last year with Black Wall Street, to have that ability to be self-sufficient and not have to ask folks for stuff. Just go get it.
So don't mortgage your house and don't mortgage your car. That's my answer. Yes, you can leverage it out over 30 years, but when you own the title, no one could take it from you. And you want to be able to walk in the room and say, I'm good for this. Give me the $1 million. I'm good. Oh, let me put against your house. Are you crazy? My house? Never.
I got it. Definitely. I'm hearing you. We're going to talk again. Definitely. Thank you
All right.
again for your time. I appreciate you. Thank you for being on Access Wealth Nation. Again, we've got the websites, the information for Richard. This is an awesome element to our community. We need to learn as much. You know, if we know better, we will do better. And so you all, thank you, Richard, so much for your time. Thank you, audience, for participating and having your questions. And we got more to do and more to change. And be blessed. Take care. This is Access Wealth Nation and Jana B. Woodhouse.
Thank you.
Thank
you. She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be lethal to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She was magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is magic.